Okay, we'll go over the goddamn Reddit post. Okay, look. When I was maybe some of you can relate to this, okay? When I was younger, I used to take a lot of satisfaction from reading stories on Reddit where one person was in the wrong and one person was in the right, and I could like appreciate my moral alignment by understanding why something was good or bad, you know? Look at this, okay? I've been seeing a guy for a few weeks that I'm crazy about, blah blah blah. They're having sex, great, phenomenal. So we had sex once a couple weeks. I felt he oversold himself. It was the most boring vanilla sex I've ever experienced. That's great, blah blah blah. But like she likes him, whatever. Since having sex, I've gone down on him twice, phenomenal. And he said maybe my brother was right. And when I asked him about what, he said it's so offensive I can't say. So last night we hung out and he brings up his brother's comment again. And at this point, I have to know what he's talking about. He said he didn't want to say because he was afraid I'd be mad. I tell him to tell me, so he says, my brother says the uglier the girl, the better the blowjob because she has to make up for her appearance somehow, and he kind of laughs. I've never met his brother, and according to him, he hasn't told his brother much about what we do because they're not very close. So I ask, what are you trying to say? You think I'm ugly? Uh, I think that is what he's trying. Okay. And he says, no, you're definitely not ugly. You're not the hottest girl I've ever been with. You're far from the ugliest. And he says I'm somewhere in the middle. That basically, if a porn star is 10, I love that. Then I'd be a 5, 6, or 7. And then the rest of it is the standard. Is this bad? Is this actually bad? Okay, when I was younger, like maybe in late high school or like 20 or whatever, I used to derive so much satisfaction from watching idiots post shit like this. And it could be fake. It's almost always fake. But like idiots post shit like this and thinking, wow, my moral compass is perfectly aligned because I see this and understand that there's a problem. And the person here, I'm so much more actualized than they are because this person doesn't understand that the situation is bad, but I do, and blah 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 blah. But like, oh god, I was just reading it this morning idly on the front page, and I was just like reflecting on how inane and dull and I don't know, masturbatory that way of thinking is. I don't even like. There's not much to say about the fucking post itself because like obviously that's shitty behavior, like douchey behavior or whatever. But the if this stuff isn't directly made up, I feel like the reason stuff like this gets popular, the sex subreddit has a lot of this problem where like all the stuff that gets popular exists only to like appease the fantasies of the people in the sub who are overwhelmingly going to be like white dudes because it's Reddit, you know. So, like how many posts have you guys seen on RSX just randomly on the front page that have been something like, "Hey guys, I'm a hot girl with big boobies, and I love sucking dick so much that sometimes I'll wake up my man doing it." Is that weird? Am I like a bad person? And then it's 8,000 upvotes and there's 4,000 comments going, "Boy, gosh, I wish my wife was as dick sucky as you." You know what I mean? You know what you know what I'm talking about, right? You understand what I'm talking about? It's weird and rape. It's not rape if you've talked about it beforehand. Let's just assume that this is a relationship where they've talked about it. Yes. Um, you know what I'm talking about? I hope you know what I'm talking about, man. It's like really fucking weird. I don't know. Um, yeah, that's not rape. Well, it would be rape if it was a person who you just didn't know, you know? Like if you were just at like a fucking sleepover and you just start sucking people's dick in the middle, that would be, it's very very much a sort of contextual um very much a contextual thing, you know. It's like ass slapping a person without explicitly asking if you can. If you do it to a random person, that's sexual assault. But if you have a girlfriend and you just do the ass slapping, and she yelps, like I feel like unless something's going horribly wrong in your relationship, at worst you're just being annoying, right? Unless there's some kind of like I don't know. I don't know if I'd want to have a girlfriend whose ass I couldn't slap. I feel like that's pretty important. Yeah, I feel like that's pretty important, you know. Yeah. Is this a segment? No, not can I just talk? Shut up. You should still ask if it's okay to do it randomly. Yeah, yeah. I feel like a lot of that stuff comes up like kind of non-verbally though, because I've never had a conversation like, "Can I slap your ass unprompted?" But I feel like the behavior that people engage in when you're in a relationship, or even if you're just fucking around, pretty clearly indicates the level of spontaneous physical intimacy they're comfortable engaging in, you know? I don't know. I don't know. It's just yeah, it feels like something you can work out fairly well. But you always clarify verbally if there's any confusion. You know. I'm glad, Hudson. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, there's always, with regards to consent, there's always like, the problem is that the people who have problems understanding what their partners or what people are sexually interested in probably should get like a consent itemized list. For me, and I think for most people, it's pretty easy to figure out. Usually people have trouble figuring out if A, they have some kind of social like abnormality, I say as a person with autism, or B, if there are some like social biases that are conditioning their beliefs. So like a toxic masculine kind of thing or whatever. If you have difficulty understanding what people are into, then you should be as explicit as possible. You should always be as explicit as possible, but I feel like usually it's pretty easy to figure out what people are into, you know? For the most part. I don't always want hugs, slaps, kisses without asking it. Well, yeah, of course. I'm not saying that you should just literally always be able to just walk up to your partner and just fucking like start beating their pussy, okay? I'm just saying that like usually those boundaries I feel like are established pretty naturally and organically and quickly. You know what I mean? Like you can figure it out, can't you? Like I don't know. It's like leaning in like to somebody, right? Like if there's a person that you're like in a relationship with and you lean into them a little bit, like you can tell from their reaction whether that's going to be a hug, a kiss, or like making out pretty easily by the way they react, you know? Like you don't need to push it. Like it's usually pretty clear, you know. If anything else, I feel like there should be some allotment for leeway. You know what I mean? Like ideally, the way in which people establish those boundaries should be with some give in both directions, right? Like you don't want it to be so you feel comfortable doing this thing, but if you go like one tiny bit over that at any point because of a misunderstanding or because of a misread signal or whatever, then like hard discomfort, you know? Like you want it to be like for instance, if you have a partner and they start making out with you, but they're making out like too hard with you, you know what I mean? Because this has happened, you know what I mean? Like sometimes you go in for like a little smack, you know, like a little nah, you know what I mean? But they're like, you know, they're fucking going for it. But I didn't take a deep breath beforehand, you know? I didn't take a deep breath beforehand. I'm not, yeah, like, or maybe I was doing something or some shit like that, you know? This happens. I didn't mean to vomit in their mouth. I just meant, you know, like big fucking make out, whatever, okay? I feel like if they end up going too hard, the result, like ideally, the response from me shouldn't be feeling like I've been violated. It should be like, oh, you know, like, hey, yeah, you know, like, you know, hey, cool it, buddy. All right, you fucking horn dog. You know what I mean? Like ideally, right? You don't want to play that close to the boundary of like explicit discomfort. Yeah, slow down, cowboy. I worry that sometimes discourse on the left like will wildly whiplash between like everyone has to be super explicit all the time and like if anyone does anything you're uncomfortable with, like that's rape or something, which that really depends on what uncomfortable with means, you know? Because uncomfortable with could be a hug that is slightly too like strong for one's taste. And uncomfortable with could be like a whole like fucking sex act that you didn't consent to. So I don't know. Just be respectful and communicate, okay? Just get along with people, okay? Just be cool. Can we just be cool? Yeah, but if you point out those boundaries should be able to be reasserted during the experience that's victim blaming. Wait. Yeah, but if you point out those boundaries should be able to be reasserted. That's wait, you should be able to reassert boundaries. I'm not sure how that's victim blaming, right? Like you should be able to. If you don't, I think they meant. Oh, well, you should. Yeah, you should be able to. Just listen to people when they talk about shit. That was Destiny's entire point. What are we talking about with Destiny? Oh, they're talking about the Destiny thing? Oh. Destiny was like objectively in the wrong by his own standards, completely indefensible. There's no argument here like whatsoever. Is literally like a chick was raped and only found out afterwards, and he was like, well, that means that she's damaged and shouldn't have sex with people. There's no getting around that. I'm sorry. It's completely indefensible. Okay, but sleeping is too far over the line for me without express prior consent. You mean being woken up by having your dick sucked? Well, yeah, you should probably talk about that beforehand. Right? That seems reasonable. I would. There's always some variance even there, right? Like, if a person's sleeping and you're sleeping next to them, you can, like, grab their ass, right? If you're spooning a person naked, I feel like the ass grab is assumed, unless there's been some prior conversation to establish that's not the case. But obviously, there's a huge difference between that and, like, explicitly sucking a dick or, like, fucking someone or whatever, so. Just talk with people. Can you just talk with people? Can we just talk with people? Is that possible? What if we did that? What if we just talked with people? Would that be possible? Talking is hard, though. I assure you that having sex with people without communicating with them is infinitely more difficult than doing so while communicating, okay? One time I dreamt I was attacked by leeches and I kicked my partner. That's funny. That's fine. That's good, though.